I'm really curious about the concept and the experience of emptiness at the different levels, and specifically the existential level, and how to understand it and experience it.
Okay. And we have a real treat, I believe, Diane, tomorrow. You can work with him. I don't want to give away the show, but we're very, very fortunate to have Diane Hamilton here, who's a member of, works with Genpo Roshi in both the traditional Zen lineage and also a new type of process called Big Mind process. And some of you have seen this on the Integral Naked site, but it's a very, very effective way of having people recognize the ever-present condition, which is non-dual, ever-present awareness. And as a ground, that becomes a very, very fruitful context in which to hold all of these phenomenal things that are occurring. But one of the things that we find about states, and particularly you can experience big mind, non-dual, as a state, is that states are generally temporary. So that's the difference between states and stages. And sort of the ultimate goal is to convert temporary states into permanent traits or permanent stages. And so, but because some of these states, particularly those that are similar to waking, dream, deep sleep, and ever-present non-dual, those really are ever-present. And so there are techniques that will allow you to recognize these and bring them forth, and we'll be going through several of these over the course of the week. And starting tomorrow in particular with the Big Mind, Big Heart process. Emptiness as a, well, there are 2 or 3 or 4 different ways we can talk about it. Let me take emptiness as part of the nature of awareness itself. Because and this also can be experienced as a temporary state, but it can become a permanent realization as it unfolds. The general notion of emptiness is if you, and we can just do it right now, if you just sort of relax your mind and just sort of settle into your body, settle into your present awareness. And you can notice that a couple of things about awareness that is already happening. So this is not anything that you have to do, it's just notice a few things that I'm going to suggest. And you'll just sort of look in your awareness and say, well, gosh, that does seem to be true. And the first is that you are aware. And there is simply awareness, and things are arising in your awareness. And this was happening before I told you to be aware. In other words, there is something in you that's noticing everything that's happening moment to moment. Now that's an ever-present noticing. Now, everything in this room is arising in your awareness. Now, you might be focusing on a particular item, this or that or the other, but if you just sort of let your mind look around, you'll notice that the entire room is entering. It's in your consciousness, whether you're paying attention to it or not. Now that you kind of notice it, you go, oh, well, yes, actually, this whole room was arising in my awareness. So the awareness itself, first of all, is effortless. The actual ever-present awareness is something that's simply happening. And everything that exists, as far as you know, is simply arising in this open, transparent sea of your own awareness. Now the interesting thing, some people will experience this as a witness, and you can do that, which is that you can be aware of thoughts. So I have thoughts, therefore I'm not thoughts. You can be aware of your body's feelings, so I'm witnessing those arising. But that witness itself, awareness itself, doesn't have any qualities. Okay, is that? So I can see objects, but therefore I'm not those objects. What is this seer? And if it's anything that I can see, that's just another object. So if you're really pushing back to pure emptiness, and you're aware of a couple of things. One, you're aware of me talking spontaneously. You don't have to make any effort to hear my voice. You're then maybe aware of the room. You can see me, you can see other people. If you get closer, you're aware of your own body. That which sees your body, okay, is not your body. There's something in you that sees your body. There's something in you that's aware of your thoughts. That witness, that ever-present awareness, doesn't have any qualities at all. So it's nete. It's not this, it's not that. It's this vast openness in which everything is arising moment to moment. That's emptiness. So this vast empty spaciousness is what all of this is arising in, moment to moment. And because of that ever-present emptiness or spaciousness, all phenomena can arise. So many schools of Mahayana and Vajrayana Buddhism make a kind of metaphoric identity between consciousness and emptiness. Because the witness itself is purely empty. It's like they liken it to a mirror. So the mirror itself doesn't have any qualities, but it reflects qualities. But you can feel that right now. You can feel that in your awareness. So it's a completely clean and free and open spaciousness in which all of this stuff is arising. And it arises, it stays a bit, and it goes. And all of the objects that you were aware of yesterday, they've come, they've stayed, and they've gone. And these objects you're aware of right now, they're going to come a bit, they're going to stay, and they're going to go. One thing won't change. There's that ever-present I amness. That ever-present awareness. That's what you are. And that's emptiness. So if we make, again, just that little bit of an equation between emptiness and witnessing and consciousness, then even Atman, that's the spark of awareness present in any sentient being going all the way down to atoms. So atoms have a little bit of prehension or feeling or awareness, and worms have a little bit of that. And then by the time you get to humans, we start to go through stages of development. And each stage of development, in a sense, is a bigger space where you can recognize emptiness. So by the time you get to the existential level, or the centaur, or yellow, or turquoise, mind, the structures of mind have become so large that you can start to recognize very complex systems. But it's still arising that emptiness of your own moment-to-moment awareness. The existential nature of that is always, it's at the existential stage, which we're talking about, has always been a very interesting sort of halfway house. I tend to think of it actually sort of, spiral dynamics talks about first tier and second tier. Existential is sort of between second tier and third tier. In other words, it's the real leap-off point. Because what happens is, the more you are developing, the more spacious your awareness is becoming on a steady basis. Then the less you're identifying exclusively with this finite body-mind. By the time you get to second tier, it's so open that you're no longer identified with any first tier values. But you're still somehow kind of behind your face, looking at the world out there. And you realize theoretically you're one with it. But you're still back here, and it's out there. And you have none of the safeguards of the first tier. So you can't believe in a mythic God, and you really don't want the new BMW. Not that much. And you're tired of the green swamp, but you haven't jumped off the top of the 100-foot pole yet. So that's the existential level. And if you're there, great, because Diane will push you off tomorrow. But that, and Zen has, there are a couple of wonderful koans and sayings that Zen has. The most famous is body-mind dropped. And what that really, in that sense, means is the last sense that you are exclusively tied to body-mind. And then all of a sudden, that ever-present emptiness in which all of this is arising, you're not just behind your face looking at it. All of a sudden, you realize that you are everything that's arising moment to moment. Because that's all you're aware of right now, is all of this is arising in your consciousness. So even if you're looking at the mountains out there, they are in your consciousness. So that's why Zen will say, drink the Pacific Ocean in a single gulp. Or the sky is actually on the inside of you. You can taste it. That's one taste. And so you're no longer merely on this side of your face, looking at the world out there. You are this, moment to moment. That gets rid of the existential bind of being still, having none of the consolations of the earlier stages, but not yet jumping into that one taste.